Story 1. There is a constant, lingering fear of being fired. Even though I have been at my job for years and my performance review was fine, I still worry about this and wonder how I will support my family if I ever receive bad news. Story 2. I thought adults had the answers. I now realize they were improvising, as I am doing now. Story 3. One significant adult challenge that often goes unmentioned is how mentally exhausting decision-making can be. As a child, most major decisions, such as what to eat, where to live, or how to manage money, are made for you. However, as an adult, you are continuously faced with choices, from minor ones like what to cook for dinner to significant ones like career changes, finances, or relationships. The mental fatigue from constantly having to figure things out can be overwhelming, particularly when there is no clear right or wrong answer. Unlike school, where effort equals results, in real life you can make all the right decisions and still experience failure, which is something that is rarely addressed. Story 4. Adult bullying. I thought adults were mature, but it seems there are many individuals behaving like children. Story 5. Finding friends can be challenging. We moved from our original state, leaving behind family and friends. Creating a community feels difficult. We've gone through many cycles where people move away, or turn out to be unreliable, or simply do not wish to invest in relationships. Sometimes you find a great group, but there's always someone in it who is unpleasant and hard to be around. Story 6. Your employer views you as a number, expendable and disposable. Do not give your loyalty to any company, as they are not loyal to you. Story 7. You have to be an adult every single day. It's a full-time role and you cannot escape. Story 8. Boomers didn't warn us about finances or budgeting at all. They grew up with the lowest costs and the highest relative wages of any generation, and they apparently thought that would last forever. Story 9. Most of my friends abandoned me when I became disabled. I had a spinal cord tumor between my C3 and C4 vertebrae and underwent surgery to remove it when I was 23. I discovered how many people secretly use pain medications because they suddenly started asking me for Percocet. I only had Tylenol, and my friend's dad sent me some gabapentin specifically because I told the hospital not to send me home with opioids. Being in a wheelchair while having desperate individuals know where you live creates a unique kind of fear. Be careful out there, kids. Auntie Axolotls loves you. Story 10. If I have a child, everything about them will become my responsibility. I will be accountable for every aspect of their life and then some. Story 11. Nothing in life is what I thought it would be. I am learning how to be happy. I am dealing with life's disappointments. Story 12. Clear direction, I suppose? All the way up until college, you're pretty much told what to do and how to do it. Once you're out of school and working for a few years, you realize that society stops guiding you, which can be freeing, but it can also be terrifying. I know people who have jumped into graduate school and doctoral programs because it was a clearer path for them. Story 13. Being alone involves surviving and dealing with loneliness. It entails coping with the reality that no one is guaranteed to wake up next to you for whom you can make coffee in the morning. Story 14. The constant fear of being fired, even if you do your job well, can be unsettling. Living in an at-will employment state can be challenging at times. Story 15. Relationships are harder than they seem when you're a child. You look up to family and family friends who have been married for a long time. Then you enter a serious relationship and realize that it's not what you expected, and you sometimes feel like running away or expressing frustration. I've never resorted to violence, as I'm not going to jail for anyone. I'm just saying that's how challenging things can become, and no one warns you earlier in life about these adult issues. Story 16. Trying to learn how to cope with the constant and unyielding helplessness that I feel about everything. Sure, I can influence my kids and my family. I can do my job and make the best choices possible at any given time, hoping for the best. But beyond that, I have no control over anything. The world seems to be deteriorating around us. I feel powerless to help. My kids may grow up in a society filled with authoritarianism. I feel powerless to help. The price of food is skyrocketing. I feel powerless to help. I have medical insurance, yet I am still one bad day away from disaster. I feel powerless to help. As a child, you accept that you don't have much control over your surroundings, but you expect that to change as you grow older. And it does to a point. However, as your sphere of control grows, so does your sphere of awareness. That sphere of awareness expands at an exponentially faster rate. I've never felt more helpless than I do now. I have no doubt it will only get worse as I age, as my parents grow older, and as my kids become more independent. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I constantly feel a sense of depression or despair, but it is incredibly frustrating. In fact, it's downright maddening. But I keep doing my best because that's what those who depend on me need, and they are worth it, even though everything else around me is falling apart. Story 17. Not everyone has a partner, and some people must be resilient and take care of themselves from puberty onward while feeling emotionally deprived. It will be challenging and exhausting, with little joy and a significant amount of suffering. You may not have the support of a solid parent, yet you will still have to look after at least one of them. Story 18. Nobody tells you that you start feeling yourself aging by your 20s. Yes, I know I'm still young. Yes, I know I'm spry, but compared to the expectations I had as a child, I didn't think back pain, thyroid issues, migraines, and sleep problems would be on my list. I mention this because I didn't expect to feel aging, especially since many of my issues are dismissed because I'm still so young. That kind of expectation led me to believe I didn't need to take care of myself differently as I moved into adulthood. Luckily, I can still turn things around, but it would have been nice to know beforehand. Story 19. It is very hard to find a job. I have had a couple of jobs in childcare and one in landscaping. I am struggling to find employment after being fired in the summer of 2024. It has been almost a year now, and I have had only 2 interviews. I am stressed about this. Story 20. No matter what you do or how you take care of yourself, you are one sneeze, wrong twist, lift, or bad night's sleep away from a back injury or constant pain. Story 21. To be honest, I have received warnings about everything. People have warned me my entire life. It's not helpful. No amount of warning will prepare you for adulthood. Story 22. Being tired all the time. Random pains after overexerting myself in the gym. I used to be able to run circles around everyone. Story 23. Most of them. I thought my parents were the greatest and smartest people in the world. It turns out they were just navigating life without a clear plan and doing a poor job along the way. Other than learning how to cook for myself and do my own laundry, thanks to my grandmother, I came away with very little knowledge of how to function as an adult, aside from the things I learned not to do from my parents. I'm okay now, but I still have questions, and now I'm a grandfather. My son turned out fine, but he knows I was also trying to navigate life without a clear plan. I did better than my parents, but the learning curve never really straightens out. Story 24. Making calls about things you have no idea about can be challenging. I had to contact my electric company because there was a mistake. I had all the documents and numbers in front of me, but I still felt unprepared. I felt like an idiot afterward. How am I supposed to know the answers to those questions? To clarify, I recently moved out and am living on my own for the first time, and I am not very skilled when it comes to technology. Story 25. At any given moment, a poorly timed job loss or medical emergency can lead to losing everything you spent over a decade building. Ultimately, due to the nature of debt, it may never be possible to return to your previous state. Story 26. Adult children look like fully grown adults but throw a tantrum like a 5-year-old when they do not get their way. Story 27. Being a responsible tax-paying citizen and witnessing politicians undermine everything while feeling powerless to change the course of events. Story 28. My husband just said last night, I'm checking every potato in the bag to make sure they aren't rotting and washing them off as well. Story 29. How overwhelming it can be to keep a schedule and spend over 40 hours a week at work with only a few hours each day of free time. It can create a sense of uncertainty about where this is all going. We must learn to stay motivated despite these feelings. Story 30. The lack of free time to do what you want is a common issue. Between work, errands, chores, and various responsibilities, you are rarely ever free. Story 31. The immense loneliness that arises from everyone being too busy with responsibilities to spend time together like they did when they were kids. Story 32. When you get married, you don't realize how deep your spouse's mental health issues can go until their fear of abandonment results in their father living with you for years. Eventually, you reach a breaking point in the marriage, but you're left dealing with the in-law despite having expressed your desire to end the situation. Story 33. Those minor activities you used to do without thinking now leave you sore. The bigger tasks you usually don't have to do constantly, like clearing snow, can lead to tennis elbow in both arms after a snowy winter. When it comes to TV shows and movies, by the time you reach middle age, you may no longer be the target audience. Walking past the movie theater and seeing all the posters can leave you dumbfounded. It seems to be all remakes, children's films, and popular franchises. If something breaks and it's not related to your profession or hobby, you might find yourself either making do with a bare minimum fix that looks acceptable, getting it to work but with poor visibility, or paying a professional 3 times what it should cost to fix it without appearing damaged. Story 34. Not every part of you is fully adult. There are moments when you feel like you're completing your childhood in different areas. Closure, completion, and making peace. Adults are often individuals with unresolved baggage, and it becomes our responsibility to resolve these issues. There have been moments when I cared for my mother and spoke with her caregivers, where I had the realization that I am now the one responsible for her. This shift in roles and my position in life is significant. This isn't just about emotional or psychological aspects. I've encountered people who have had physical problems stemming from their youth that were not addressed properly at the time. Now, as adults, they are releasing body tension and working on their posture as best they can. They are learning how to breathe properly after growing up in a highly dysfunctional environment. Story 35. When you turn 30, women may desire intimacy twice a day. When you turn 40, you will need reading glasses. When you turn 50, you may find yourself getting up in the middle of the night to use the restroom 4 times. When you turn 60, you will have lost an inch in height, marking the first inch. When you turn 70, even your short-term memory may fade. There was something else I intended to say. When you turn 80, people may be more interested in your estate than your company, while all you want is affection. When you turn 90, you may be planning a headstone for your grave. Story 36. You may heal, but that does not always stop the pain. I am referring to nerve damage, not emotional issues. Story 37. Outgrowing your parents in terms of emotional maturity can be challenging. My parents had a tougher life than mine, being Black Americans born in the 1950s, but they refused to discuss or acknowledge emotions. It is difficult to accept that I can't rely on them for support or mature conversations because they simply are not capable. Story 38. Digital appliances like ovens and washing machines do not last as long as your parents' appliances, which had traditional dials. From the age of 9 until my parents moved when I was almost 30, they had to buy a new refrigerator, and yes, it was avocado green. Story 39. Getting over the fact that if you wait for financial stability to live your life, you'll miss out on so much. Story 40. Your stomach may eventually become permanently affected, requiring you to change and adapt all your eating habits. You may no longer be able to enjoy some of your favorite foods without experiencing severe discomfort. Story 41. This is more of a womanhood issue, but the back pain is unbearable. I can't take it anymore. It's torture. Additionally, nobody ever told me that Aunt Flo would stop visiting if you're too stressed. It's been 3 months. I should also mention that I'm not sexually active. I'm genuinely worried that I might have some form of cancer because there's no way that I'm pregnant. Story 42. Menopause is much more than just hot flashes. It completely destabilizes you, especially in terms of mental health. Story 43. Your emotionally immature parents refuse to take care of themselves in old age, expecting you to automatically fix everything for them. Story 44. I now have a funeral director. I recommend him to all my friends who are also starting to deal with their parents passing. Story 45. How do you know if you have enough money saved for retirement? I have a small pension, but will my company relocate and leave me in a difficult situation? Story 46. I am buying my first brand new car from a dealer next week after purchasing the last two through private sales. I have no idea what to do. Story 47. Yeah, I really don't know why my father wakes me up every morning at 6 a.m. with strange sounds. This is so wrong. Story 48. How expensive random items can be and how often things break around the house when you begin to feel good about your life. Story 49. How expensive everything is. Making doctor's appointments becomes a whole side quest of phone calls, insurance battles, and waiting. Story 50. There is no free time. There is always something to be done. Tidy up, put things away, fix items, clean, run errands, and manage life administration tasks. Even the retirees I know are dealing with this, not to mention younger people who have to fit these responsibilities in around work. I do not have children but cannot imagine also having to keep up with their needs as well. Story 51. Adults are just children in aging bodies and they are often just as scared and clueless, if not more so, than actual children. Story 52. Taxes can be challenging. Switching companies involves many emails and phone calls to change insurance and retirement plans, as well as setting up internet, television, and electrical services when frequently moving between apartments due to high rent. Additionally, figuring out a diet plan can be difficult. Story 53. Encountering other adults in their professions and having to trust their new personas can be challenging, especially when you only associate them with wild nights out and questionable decisions from the past. Story 54. Running out of toilet paper completely and facing the unpleasant consequences if you don't write it on the list as soon as you are down to the last couple of rolls. Story 55. How much money do you have to spend on necessary items like toilet paper, toothpaste, and laundry detergent? Story 56. How short life is. From the time you turn 20 until you reach old age, you only have about 20,000 days. Moving to a new apartment from planning to the actual move will take 1% of your total life. Going back to college full-time for 4 years will consume 5 to 6% of your life. Story 57. Dust everywhere. Always. It's like fighting a losing battle, especially when it comes to skirting boards. It's a challenge to remove it, requiring almost a crawl to get the job done. And then, surprisingly, more dust settles on your knees. Story 58. I thought that when you have a full-time job, you would be able to have money left after paying your bills. If you do have some money left, you usually spend it on treating yourself for the week, but it's not enough to buy anything exciting. Story 59. How to manage relationships and handle difficult conversations about them. What to do when certain situations occur in relationships. Story 60. Still falling in love with people. It's so annoying. I thought these feelings would stop. As an adult, I expected to naturally forge a relationship with someone because we're both adults, and love would follow. I did not anticipate experiencing these intense feelings of being in love like teenagers do at 35. Story 61. When you were in school or college, you believe your friends will always be there for you. However, as you transition into adulthood, responsibilities such as work and family take precedence, leading to less contact with friends and increased feelings of loneliness. During school and college, your financial needs are primarily met by your parents. Once you graduate, you must earn a living for yourself and those around you, which can be quite challenging. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.